There's a lot of deja vu chat, like, where you dream something. You know what I mean? I feel like you I feel like you dream shit and then it happens. I feel like that's just not a coincidence. That one chat. Yeah, customs not gonna work. Customs not gonna work. It's not gonna work, chat. Customs aren't working. Told you. Probably, but it doesn't work. I tried, chat. I tried this. Yeah, we'll play tonight. We'll literally play. Code, you can see. Oh, that'll be the first code tonight, bro. Chat, alright, I'll give you two options. Alright. What would you do? Take $2 billion? $2 billion? Or give your mom 1 extra year of life added onto it? There's an update soon? Yeah, I know. I mean, yes, your presence does matter. It always matters to someone, chat. Yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, that's it depends, Vertex. I'm back from dessert. What did you have for dessert? Coffee? Yeah. Chat. I would choose the same thing. I would choose the same thing. I was just wondering. Back to the comment is, if your absent doesn't. Honestly, chat, when you just get home, just come straight on. I'll be streaming. Literally, just look up Grim Ring 1 on YouTube and then just be like, sup, more.
Oh God!
Fucking dumb. Por feito, pronto. Se eu não for para o pensamento aí.
What? Panta, what do we have to, bro?
Can I even go in there?
Wait, go in the 0 point thing.
Can we just go in there?
Yeah, you get me around. Yeah.
Wait.
Just do.
Hey, Bob!
Yeah?
Who's this?
Go into the thing.
I might go to that thingy. What?
Go in that thingy.
No? Right, play Fortnite.
I glitched. I couldn't move. Wait, come down.
I know. What?
Come down.
No. But I am coming down. What? Get in there.
Yeah, stop.
Okay, forward.
I did win in there. But what's wrong?
There's zombies.
But, Buff, I can see you, Buff. But who take all my money? We're gonna see someone take.
Yo.
I would honestly.
Yo, whoever's in my chat, bro. It's probably, I don't know who it is, honestly. Oh, it's Trizzy! Hey, Trizzy.
same time? Do we all want to watch it at the same time, chat? Or can't one of them watch it at the same time?
Yeah.
Noob, I wouldn't know what to call it, bro.
Yo.
Alright, chat. Everyone click the documentary. When you see this number. Yo, when you see the number, tell me to ready up. Tell me to watch it.
Which number? Okay.
Number 1, it's in. It would be in chat.
Okay, I'm watching it.
Okay. Let's watch this. I'll watch it with you, chat. I've already watched it, but I'll just get your thoughts.
It's an hour long.
Yeah, but skip it. You can skip it through bits.
As a scientist, I was never a believer in conspiracy theories. I believe Al Qaeda was
I
responsible.
mean, we have an hour to wait for the update, anyways.
I believe we landed on the moon. And
Yeah, I'm just doing what's it called? Pickaxe Frenzy.
I'm just waiting for this update.
to believe our government covered up these events requires proof. A conspiracy theory, like any theory, needs proof. So that's the first question I'd ask me. Where's your proof? In 1997,
I know the Fennockers, bro.
recorded sound waves. In the early 2000s, it was proved that the Navy beached whales
So this wait, look at the top comment on the video, the documentary.
I believe the ocean is still full of even bigger issues. Not
Oh,
just
mine.
noise,
So
but,
this corona pandemic is making me watch all kinds of documentaries, from serial killers to mermaids.
2004, massive beach of Washington State. They captured it on cell phone. The boys claimed they saw something that day. They claimed they saw a body.
Shut on! Fuck, no, mate.
Box like a fish.
Nah, look, someone in pickaxe frenzy, G. Ah!
They saw a body.
Come here, Flash, yeah, dog.
That official record was later changed, and the Navy took the remains of the
Why does it place 3 builds and only meant to place 1? So gay.
what the Navy did that day. And I believe I know what it is that they took.
Is anyone else in chat watching this, by the way?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I know you are, but I'm asking if anyone else is in chat.
Washington State, April 4th, 2004.
18 HP clutch right here.
A sample-based research team from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric
Oh my!
cleared the sea to investigate the cause of the mass beaching. Heading the research was respected marine biologist Dr. Brian McCormick. In 2000, McCormick had published a landmark study that linked mass whale bleaching.
Oh, fucking hell, this shit.
Fucking hell, what a pussy, man.
What the fuck is that? Why is its eye retarded? Looks like me.
I just saw a dead whale.
Not much.
Bro, I just saw a dead
What about
whale.
you?
Sitting on my chair in my
This thing is so small.
Oh, hold on, I'll call you back. Barbara's calling me.
Alright, later.
Who's that?
My sister.
Yeah.
Motherfucker just ruined my movie. Or my doco.
Documentary? That's funny. This person just ruined my documentary, right? Yeah, new update. Soon.
Suspected that the Navy had begun operating their sonar once more. Now, 2 members of that team have agreed to speak on camera for the first time about what they claim.
Like, goodness, I can't believe it. I'm in the same party as someone with nearly 2K subs. No cap.
Looking out over the dunes and scale.
Wait, do you wanna go on a creative and just 1v1?
Anything like it.
No, I'm watching the doco, bro.
My name's Paul
Oh, what the heck, I forgot about
I
it.
was a research assistant with Dr. McCormick, working at NOAA for several years by then. By the time we got there, the wind was so bad that it had driven everyone else off the beach, and a storm was coming in, so it was just us and the Navy.
You there, Triz?
Beach. And there were guys in hazmat suits. It could have been biologists or medical staff. We weren't sure. But that
Legit
got our
chat.
attention. Brian was one of the
Ceramic
scientists
Creator.
between
What skin is that, Recon?
and maybe sonar use.
This kid thinks he's Rift.
But he had never seen anything like this before. I'm Rebecca Davis. I was a field biologist at NOAA. I was working in the Marine Mammals Division before I joined Dr. Cole's lab in 1999. Blood was visible coming from the ears of the whales. We had never seen that before.
What's up, Minus G? What doing?
It was bleeding from the ears.
What's up, dude?
Meant that the animal suffered some kind of major internal trauma.
Garfy, I'll watch that link too, bro.
Multiple organ tissue samples.
What's the link he put in?
We were going to
Nothing,
study those
Discord.
under the microscope to determine cause of death. We packed up as quickly as we could, but Brian wouldn't leave. He wanted to get as many samples as he could because he wanted to know what the Navy was doing out there. After the Navy left, we went down to where they'd been working, and none of the animals were cut open. They hadn't been autopsied. We had no idea what they would be doing down there. In prior beachings where the Navy was implicated, the NOAA team found whales that had died from suffocation injuries. It is believed the loud sound of the Navy sonar scared the whales.
I don't know, chat. I feel I've watched this twice, and this will be my third time. I honestly don't know. I wouldn't call them mermaids though. I don't know what you would call them.
Defined in the autopsy remains. Signs of internal organ collapse. They found something else instead. When we looked at the samples, we expected to see evidence of trauma. The bleeding from the ears indicated as much. What we were not prepared for was the extent. The internal organs hadn't. What we were seeing was consistent with blunt force trauma. There were circular lesions on the samples. Clear evidence of damage.
Yeah, Guff, I saw it, bro. I saw your link if that's what you're referring to.
Brian had an immediate theory. Having a home to feel safe has never felt more important.
Well, this fucking
From
ad.
your local Rams Home specialist, we can help you feel safe every step of the way.
Legit.
Rams, rated together.
Guff, I'll have a look at it, bro.
Very powerful ultra-low frequency sound waves that could theoretically be weaponized and potentially used to devastating effect. They would slam into living tissue with incredible speed and incredible force. Those slides
So, Cybex, what's good?
catastrophic impact injury that we believed was caused by a new kind of Navy sonar. A sonar class that did more than just scare whales into the shallows. This sonar has to kill them. Well, Brian realized that we didn't need the tissue to test our theory. We have, NOAA has these arrays radioing seismic activity, and one of these boys was very close by. So we know it was likely that we had recorded the whole event. Sonar blast, the whale reactions, everything. Well, first there was the sound of the whale vocalizations, which we expected. And then there was what we now understand to be the timing of the sonar weapon. And then there was a moment of silence, and this proved to be the calm before the storm, because then it was bam. It was pretty awful to listen to. Brian was so preoccupied with cataloging this sonic blast that he almost missed what else was there. There was another sound on the recording, an animal call, and we realized that this
I made aim, bro.
the same creature that Noah had recorded back in 1997, but in this case, our recording was much longer. It was the most complex, intricate animal call I'd ever heard, and we had no idea what it made.
Let's go. Chad, I'm gonna get into bed. If I fall asleep, my apologies. I'm getting into bed. Recap. It'll come, chat. I mean, I've already done it once for my 500 subs, but I'll do it again.
I've seen the footage that was supposedly taken in Beaufort.
Are you the older or younger?
Whether the particular video is real or not, it doesn't really matter. The Navy keeps a tight grip on all classified information, but even they've come to realize that no matter what they do to prevent it, there will be occasional leaks. And when there is a leak, they've learned how to control it. It's no surprise that the Beaufort video was immediately branded a fake. The Navy tells us it's not real, so it's not real. Whenever a leak happens, the military has a way of using its influence to make the general public believe what they want them to believe. What I can't tell you is that I've seen a creature in the Navy's possession. We took it after the first test in Washington State. I was on the beach that day, but we weren't the first ones there.
Alright, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get my dinner, alright? I'll be back in like 1 second. Not long. I just gotta go get it.
Similar mass beaching events were being reported all over the globe.
Rescuers are racing against the clock, trying to save nearly 200 pilot whales that beached themselves in southern Australia Monday.
这条长1米的抹香鲸体重超过5吨，年龄在2到3岁，雄性。
6 bottlenose dolphins also beached themselves, something scientists say is very uncommon. This is the 4th incident of its kind in recent months in the same part of southern Australia, and scientists really don't know why it's happening.
This was happening all over the world. So now we're following beachings elsewhere. We alerted marine agencies to what we discovered with the sonar blasts.
Already ate.
We begin hearing
I only get a bar for dinner.
reports of bodies washing up with the whales. Rumors of something else washing up with them. And in every case, there was always authorities on hand to control the scene. But at the time, we just wanted to stop the beachings from ever happening again. In some of these events, not only were there reports of bodies being found, but something else. These had been reported before. Not bodies, Stadtfische aufgewachsen. Fischer, mein ganzes
Oh, he's watching a documentary.
in den 70er Jahren aus Bremerhaven. Haben wir Kabeljau und Stockfisch aus der Baltische.
From the files of Budget Direct.
Let's get to work. James,
I hate that alone.
I told you to pay attention to the road.
clearly this wasn't my fault. Maybe not. You've taken a wrong turn on this one. Your insurance policies are monstrous.
You know, if you had Budget Direct car insurance, you could get a hire car while yours gets repaired. And you can save hundreds.
Are we there yet?
Not at fault. Get a hire car while yours gets repaired. Just give us the other driver's details. Budget Direct. Insurance solved.
Now, Fred. Crikey. Love 30. What? Inappropriate violation. Shaking your head violation. Just chill out, Mick. It's only a bloody game. My name's Nick. Inability to remember your own name, violation. What's the score? It's love. Love something.
This Australian Open, what the score to stay love? Because when the score is love, you can eat for love. On Uber Eats. Get in quick. Wo wir aufwachsen waren, haben wir öfter so Geschichten gehört, komische Geschichten, was Leute mit Fischen gefunden haben. Bloß, ich kam nicht daran, ich musste warten, bis ich wirklich auf Tiefwasser in dem Bernrohle war. Da haben wir gefischt.
Are you reading chat?
Wurde ich plötzlich selbstbewusst darauf. Da haben wir gesehen, tote Fische. Fische mit Speeren in den Seiten. Davon habe ich schon viele gesehen. Auf einen Trip habe ich meine Kamera mitgebracht. Ich wollte Fotografien machen vom Walfischen für meinen Sohn. Auf denselben Trip, wo wir die Netze daraus brachten. In einem Netz, da war was, hat sich so komisch bewegt und als wenn es so rausklettern wollte. Und ich bin ganz schnell gegangen, habe meine Kamera geholt und ich habe das Bild genommen. Ich glaube, hier ist was die Speere macht. Ich glaube, wir stören hier jemands Fischgebiet. We petitioned the Department of Defense for information, and we sought injunctions against the Navy, but it didn't get us anywhere. The Navy claimed that they were merely studying the anomalies, that they weren't the cause of them. We continued to build profiles of these events, and we went over the one thing we did have, which was the recording. We listened to and analyzed this recording, I don't know how many times, and we made comparisons with whales and dolphins. But this thing, to our ears, sounded much more intricate, much more advanced. And we thought we had a reasonable chance to crack the code, but it was still beyond us. We needed help.
My name is Dr. Rodney Webster. I'm currently at the University of South Florida. I specialize in animal communications. I focus mainly on the field of cetacean vocalizations, dolphins, and whales. A lot of what I do in my work is I search for signifiers, which are, particular sounds to which you can attach a meaning or a mood. You and I would refer to them as words, so they're words for dolphins. What's so interesting about the 2004 recording is that I could identify literally hundreds of signifiers and arrange them to recognizable patterns. We had not gathered this kind of information in 30 years of studying dolphins and whales.
for breath holding is nearly 20 minutes. That's almost as long as a dolphin can dive. Compared to our closest relatives, the apes, we have a much more flexible spine. And we have partial webbing between our fingers and toes that they don't have. These are features for an aquatic environment. Why have them unless to help us swim? And human babies hold their breath underwater automatically. They instinctively know how to swim, whereas a baby chimp or gorilla would drown. And unlike other apes, we shed our hair. Hair creates drag in water. And we have a thick layer of insulating fat that keeps us warm in water. The only other animals born with as thick a fat layer are exclusively marine mammals. Some humans are so well adapted for life underwater that they still hunt at the bottom of the sea, walking across the ocean floor. The Moken people of Southeast Asia can contract their pupils at will to control for water distortion. They actually see underwater as clearly as if they were wearing a mask. And in some places in the world, humans are still so proficient in the water that they can catch fish with hooks or nets. All these adaptations for life in the water, but we lack adaptations that are commonplace in other land animals. We shed salty tears and sweat. Salt and water are valuable resources. Other land animals have efficient ways of conserving them. We don't. Why? Because part of our evolution took place in the sea. Now, this is all theoretical, but the land-to-sea transition has happened before. It's documented science. Orcas have evolved from a wolf-like ancestor millions of years ago, and there are more recent examples. 150,000 years ago, a fractional amount of evolutionary time, a group of brown bears split from the rest of their line. They evolved into a new species. They became polar bears. Polar bears are capable of holding their breath for minutes at a time underwater. They've even developed webbing in their front paws to help them swim. They are currently, before our eyes, evolving into marine mammals. And if this is happening to polar bears now, why couldn't this have happened to the human line at some point in our evolution?
Could we be descended from a group of apes that were once becoming marine mammals? Some scientists believe our ancestors left the forest for the sea. But what pulled them here? What drew them to the water's edge? It was food. It is even thought our ability to walk fully upright first evolved here, wading in the shallows where food was easily found. The trees had been our cradle, but now we would be shaped by the sea. Over time, more human ancestors collected along the shoreline. It is even thought that this is where our advanced intelligence began to develop. Brain-food nutrients like iodine and fatty acids were abundant in the crustaceans and shellfish that could be gathered here. We were beginning to change, and so was the environment.
stranding that followed the Washington State event, trying to establish a pattern of naval involvement.
If we could prove that this was a new species being affected, we figured that this might give us leverage, that we could compel the Navy to divulge what they're doing and possibly stop it. We had strong circumstantial evidence, but the South African beaching gave us. What made this beaching stand out was that our South African colleagues had made a recording of their own.
We, of course, had heard of the work of Dr. McCormick. We'd heard the reports linking large-scale beachings to sonic events. And we'd also heard the rumors that such an event may have affected a species as yet unidentified to science. And, of course, we heard of the bloop recording. My name is Dr. Gavin Dittmar. I am the head of acoustic research at the Marine Biology Research Center at the University of Cape Town. We had an underwater array just about a kilometer off the tip of Cape Town. And this was part of a research program to monitor whale populations at certain times of the year. That's why we contacted Dr. McCormick. We now believed that we had found the same thing.
When we heard that recording, we immediately accepted an invitation to make a research visit. We arrived about 40 hours after the event. And again, we weren't the first. Other official investigators had already come and gone.
The South African beaching was the biggest since the Washington State event, and here again, we were seeing the exact same patterns of sonic trauma.
What was different in South Africa was the recording itself. Here we had another bloop signature, the same mystery creature that we had recorded. We had the same low-frequency sonic blast. But here, it was what happened before the blast that was revealing. Here was a bloop call similar to the one we recorded. It was obviously the same kind of creature. And this time, there was dolphin chatter on the recording. Not surprising, dolphins are in these waters and they get stranded in these events as well. But here, there was communication, back and forth communication between our bloop creatures and the dolphins, which made us think, is it a dolphin? Is it some new species of dolphin? And from that point on, that's what we thought we were looking for.
To that point, we only had acoustic evidence. But physical evidence, that was the breakthrough that Dr. Dittmar gave us.
It's a great white shark. It's not the shark. It's what's in the shark.
It was a mess, and it smelled pretty terrible. There were parts that looked like they might have been from a dolphin, parts that looked like they're from a seal, but no seal dolphin we'd ever encountered. And there were other parts too. We had no idea what we were looking at, but we thought right away, jackpot. This was something new. This was a new species. There were puncture marks around the shark's gills and mouth, and I initially thought these might have been injuries sustained when it was gaffed to the side of the boat. But I probed one of them, and I found a stingray barb inside. Now, This could have come from a stingray defending itself. Sharks eat stingrays. Hammerheads do. Tigers do. But not great whites. So I kept the barb. I thought it might be something I could publish in a journal or something. I just thought it was interesting.
A million years after entering the sea, the aquatic apes would now be better adapted to their new world. They've lost most of their hair and can hold their breath for minutes at a time. They're still learning how to hunt. They're learning by observation. Unexpectedly, the dolphins scatter. For now, the aquatic apes must hide. But eventually they will learn to defend themselves against the dangers present in their new world.
The first time the weapon was tested off the coast of Washington, it was a disaster. We were caught off guard completely by the aftermath. The beach hadn't been secured. It was left wide open to anyone who passed by that morning. Those boys happened to be in the right place at the wrong time. At first, it looked like they were going to be a problem. They refused to recant their initial statement about what they saw. Finally, we convinced one of the boys' mothers that they hadn't seen what they thought they'd seen. People usually don't want any trouble when the military is involved. The mother was smart enough to make the boys change their statements. We kept surveillance on the boys, but they weren't telling their story to anyone. They kept quiet about the entire event. After that first test, we didn't leave any beaches unsecured again.
He's watching a documentary right now. He might be asleep. Actually, don't know. He's watching a documentary right now. He might be asleep.
We got the body back to the lab, and the condition of the remains was poor. We recovered about 30% of the body, so it was going to be difficult to piece together.
The first thing we did was to take DNA samples to try and establish the genetic makeup.
We started by looking at the rib cage, and it appeared to be hinged. A collapsible rib cage is a feature of marine mammals who have evolved to dive. The tail fluke was the best preserved, and it looked a lot like a manatee's. We wondered if maybe that's what this could be, some relic population or undiscovered relative of this animal. We took an x-ray. There were bones in the tail fluke. Manatees don't have that. So we're thinking, what on earth is this?
The skull was severely damaged. Half of it was missing. But one important piece that we did have was a partial forehead plate. This contained a hole that was not part of the damage. We presumed it was a blowhole. We made resin casts of the skull fragments and sent them to a forensic expert.
Then we looked at the pelvis. There were remains of leg bones. Seals have leg bones, but their thigh bones are short. We could tell that the ones in our specimen were long. So this thing is not a seal. It's not a manatee. and although it talks to dolphins, it's not a dolphin, at least not from what we're seeing. So what else on Earth would be smart enough to communicate with dolphins? What else is out there?
A creature that once hid in shadows now swims in open sea. They are not alone here. They are bonded with another intelligent being. It is a bond of friendship. For now, they play together. In time, they will hunt together. Their ancestors slept in trees.
there?
Mm-hmm.
Doing?
Cool. I'm surprised there aren't more people here. I was gonna like wait to try and hear like 10 people dropping in the same spot, you know what I mean? But apparently not. Let's go, dude. Hope everyone's having a good day.
Did you fall asleep?
Mm-hmm.
Thought so, that's why you weren't answering me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of speaking to your chat while you were asleep.
Fair enough.
Yo.
Hello, VSR Fishy.
Crickets, guys. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of him as well. He's the fast editor for Sword Esports. Guys, he is going to be using the Apex Pro PKL.
How are you today? Wait, is matchmaking disabled now? Update soon. Well...
Good, how are you?
I'm doing alright. I'm going to end stream and wait for this update. I'll probably be on around 8, depending on what time this thing ends. Well, depending on what time it is. Oh, yep. What I said. Yep. So have a good one. Laters.